Everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Amelia Dalgard, Motorhead Mama, and I am here talking to the illustrious team of tour guides for this year's New York Auto Show. I want everybody just to go around and introduce themselves. I'll start with me. As I said, I'm Motorhead Mama. I've been doing this for, I don't know, 12, 13 years. I started an anonymous blog that became a thing, and I have been a lifelong enthusiast. I am on the Women's World Car Jury. I've written for a bunch of places, and I live in Los Angeles. That's all you need to know about me. Take it, Scotty.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scotty Reiss, the founder of A Girl's Guide to Cars. We cover cars from the perspective of women, how women think about cars, what women need from cars, and uh, demystifying the language and the process of car buying for women and for anyone who's not an enthusiast and not an expert on cars. You can also find me over at Forbes, and you'll find me at parents.com. And the week of April 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th, you will find me at the New York Auto Show. I'm very excited to lead tours again this year in New York. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Scotty. I'm Paul Eisenstein, and I am the veteran in this group. I've been covering the auto industry since 1979. I write for all sorts of publications, print, broadcast, electronic. I do a lot of radio and television. I'm with the Nikkei out of Japan. I publish something called Headlight.News, write for Cigar Aficionado, Gear Junkie, and so many others all over the world. Uh, but I cover the industry pretty much from every angle, whether you're talking about new technology or you're talking about reviews, you're talking about features, about the hard breaking news, or pretty much anything that there is automotive. Just don't ask me how to fix your car. That I can't do. Aaron?
My name is Aaron Gold. I'm writing about cars for about 30 years now. I actually started as an intern at a magazine in Britain, doing it here in the States since about 1997. Was a freelancer for a long time, and now I am a senior staff writer at Motor Trend. And I've been doing New York tours of the New York Auto Show for quite a few years now, mostly because I just love it. It's just a lot of fun to do. And if I could mention, we have one tour guide who was not able to join us today, who's my colleague Kristen Lee, also a fellow Motor Trender and an immensely talented writer and video presenter and gearhead.
Great. Thank you for reminding us. Kristen, you are not forgotten. We all love her. So I just wanted to go around and have all of us talk about which tours you're doing. As Scotty reminded us, the tours for the auto show start on April 17th and go through, I believe, through Sunday the 20th. Is that right?
There are also tours on the second weekend, the closing weekend of the show, that I will be leading.
Perfect. So you can go to autoshownewyork.com to get tickets. We'll put a link in the description here so you can go and buy your tickets. Be sure you do
Yep.
that. So I wanted to talk to everybody first, go around and talk about which tours we're doing. So I am doing four different types of tours. The first I'm doing is the kids tour, which is something I've done at the LA Auto Show and is my absolute favorite thing to do. So obviously I take kids around and we have a really fun experience. As a mother, I absolutely love doing this, and I love the energy and enthusiasm of the kids. P.S. This is not a babysitting gig. You got to come with your kid. Two, I do the enthusiast tour because as a lifelong enthusiast, I know we want to get down to the deets and the dirty details about what's new and what's cool on the showroom floor. No problem. Three, car shopping for women. Scotty knows this too. We all need help. I would love to be able to help women really narrow down the best options for them and be a resource for them and show them why the show floor is such a great place to shop for cars and put that into action. Finally, I'm going to do a cool mom tour because I am convinced that women are told that we can only drive, early minivans that are covered in goldfish and fruit juice. And that is not the world I want to live in. I want to help you moms drive the coolest car where you can dump the kids off at carpool and then go live your best life. So come with me and we'll make it happen. Scotty.
So I'm leading 3 tours this year. My first tour on Thursday is focused on hybrids. And so we're going to talk about everything hybrids, not only what the technology entails and how to decide which hybrid is right for you, but whether or not hybrid is even the way to go. There's some math to do to figure that out. But there's so many great options, not just hybrids, but plug-in electric hybrids, and uh, there's a lot of technology and a lot to understand there. So bring your questions, because I'm there to help you figure out which is the right one for you. And virtually I think every automaker makes a hybrid now, and a lot of them offer a gas engine, a hybrid, and a plug-in hybrid. So there's a lot to see there. On Friday, we're going to be talking about technology, and that's one of my favorite tours. I love to put people inside the car and show them this technology, show them what's new in head-up displays, show them what's new in voice activation, show them what's new in multimedia systems, and why it's worth the investment, not only of money when you're purchasing a car, but also your time to learn how to use this technology, because it makes your drive experience so much better. And then on Saturday, it's girls' night out. So we will have a fun tour. We even have a little cocktail hour after the tour. So bring your girlfriend, bring your boyfriend, and come for girls' night out. Men are welcome as well. And we're going to have a fun tour Saturday night at the auto show.
Fantastic. Well, I guess I should step in. Again, I'm Paul Eisenstein, and I've been doing this tour for as many years as I can remember at this point. And it has been an absolute blast. I have to be honest, one of the things that I like about doing tours is that the folks who are with me now, sometimes folks have been coming back year after year, which is very flattering, quite frankly, to see the same people want to catch up with you again. But what I really enjoy is that I get a lot of good ideas. Um, People ask me questions, and I think about things that hadn't come to mind before. And frankly, if you ask the right questions, you may trigger a story that I'll do in the coming days. Um, my tours generally tend to be broad. I like to talk about what's there at the show and then focus on what's coming, what's new, what's exciting at the show in any particular year. I do put a lot of emphasis, and I will again this year, on new powertrain technology, because that seems to be something, no matter what tour they put me on, it's something that people always seem to want to talk about. So I'll talk a lot about all sorts of new technology, whether it's the new infotainment screens, the new safety technology on board, but I'll put a lot of emphasis on hybrids, plug-in hybrids, battery electric vehicles, and some other technologies. We'll see at least 1 or 2 hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, I believe, here. And we will also be hearing about something new called the extended range vehicle. So those are the sort of things I'll be focusing on as we wander around the floor at Jacob Javits.
All right, well, I'm going to be doing 3 types of tours. First is the general tour, in which, kind of like what Paul said, we just go through and talk about what's new, not just what's new at the show, but what's new at what's new in the industry, the latest vehicles that the automakers have introduced over the past year. You know, New York Auto Show is so well positioned because it's at the spring, just before we kind of get into next year's vehicles. So we're going to look at everything that's new in the general tour. This is the one, especially for the people who are shopping and for car geeks who just love to talk about all things automotive. I've got an EV focus tour, which, as the name implies, focuses on electric vehicles. But we also talk about electrified vehicles. So we'll talk about plug-in hybrids, even regular hybrids, because I think feel really strongly that before you take the dive into any electric or electrified vehicle, you need to think about what's right for you. And that's something that we'll discuss on the tour. What makes you a good candidate for an EV? What makes you a good candidate for a plug-in hybrid? Or if you should go just hybrid. Last type of tour I do is the muscle and truck tour. Kind of two different genres of vehicles. Muscle I love because the definition of the muscle car has changed so much in the past few years, and it really does include electrics because some of the fastest vehicles are electric. And of course, we're going to be seeing, I believe we're going to be seeing the electric Charger at the show. And we also talk about trucks. Like Amelia, even though I'm a native New Yorker, I live in Los Angeles. and my wife actually has mules. So we actually use our pickup truck to do truck stuff. And I have to tell you, my colleagues at Motor Trend are tired of me hearing about me hauling hay and how many bales you can get into the back of each truck. But we will talk about pickup trucks and really concentrate on their usability and doing actual work with them. And those are the 3 types of tours that I do.
Love it. So really quickly, I'd love for us to talk about, I think we've talked a little bit about what we can expect to get out of the tours. But I do think we should talk about and Paul touched on it, why we do the tours and what's in it for us. So I'll start. As I said, I live in Los Angeles. I do the LA Auto Show tours. This will be my first year doing the New York Auto Show tours, which I'm really excited about. I did grow up in the suburbs in Connecticut and lived in Manhattan before I moved to LA. And so I'm really looking forward to really reaching a different audience and getting a different perspective. LA people and New York people are very different, as everybody knows. And what I end up getting out of it is I just get re-energized. I fall back in love with what I do. As Paul said, I get lots of ideas from people, and the kids particularly completely reignite my inner car girl that was reading Car and Driver and Road and Track under the covers that said, oh, maybe someday I'll write about cars. Well, here I am. So it really reignites that in me. And I'm so grateful for every minute I get to do it, honestly, even if it's exhausting. So wear comfortable shoes.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Amelia. I love doing these tours. And I'll say I come to automotive from a totally different angle. I was not a car girl. I loved having the freedom of a car, but I found them to be frustrating if they break down and I don't know how to fix a car. And it was not interesting to me to learn how to do it. But what was interesting was to learn what I needed in a car and learn how to avoid having expensive repairs and having to spend my money on fixing my car and getting the right car to begin with. Those kinds of consumer empowerment topics really are what drive me. And I love being able to share that information with people at the show. I love walking through the show with people, understanding what it is they need to know, and then helping them find those solutions, whether it's something that's just entertaining, they just want to see certain cars because they're a lot of fun, or they really need to figure out, do I need a minivan or do I need an SUV? And is this SUV the right one for my family? And everybody says, you know, get a Highlander, and then they get a chance to get into the Highlander and discover whether or not really it's a fit for them. Another thing I really love showing up, and I meant to say this a little bit earlier, is that there are a lot of cars at the auto show that win awards. And I participate in you mentioned the Women's Worldwide Car of the Year awards, that you're a jury member. I am a jury member of the World Car Awards. And I know Paul and Aaron both participate in awards programs as well. And those awards are something that we spend all year long test driving these cars and thinking about every single car that's new on the market and thinking about how they serve the customer and the technology that goes into them. And we narrow down the ones that we think are most deserving, and then they win these awards. So I always do love showing the cars that are the award winners at the New York Auto Show, which kicks off with the World Car Awards. So those awards will be announced as the show starts. And to be able to highlight to people, this is the car that the best journalists in the world say is the best car. That I think is a really great thing to be able to share with audiences or with people on the tour as well. Paul?
Yeah, it's interesting what you were saying about awards. Now, I've been on a number of awards programs over the years. I failed to mention that I am one of the original jurors on the North American Car, Truck, and Utility Vehicle of the Year. I'm also a member and former president of now on the board of the Automotive Press Association, one of the biggest automotive press groups in the United States. And you know, we as journalists tend to be opinionated, particularly when we're in the automotive area. So I think that I have a pretty good feel for most everything that you'll see at the show, unless it's so brand new, I haven't had a chance to really take it out and experience what it's like. But I know one of the things that's exciting and one of the things that's fun is to talk about the award winners, but also hear from people about why they sometimes buy vehicles that might give me a shock. Uh, the type of vehicles that I would never even put in the top 10 list. And then I find out some of the things that folks are looking for that I may never have thought about. We usually have our list of things, whether it's the big screen or the horsepower or the seating room, or of course that very important issue, cup holders. But I'm always excited to talk with people and find out what the other things are that excite them about what they're driving. And sometimes I learn that a vehicle I never even thought about was, in fact, a really good choice. Aaron?
I do it. Gosh, I'm so simple. I'm just a car geek and I love to talk about cars, and this is an excuse to walk around and talk about cars. I mean, I just love it. I think that's why we take this job in the first place, because we're real car nerds and we want to immerse ourselves in it. And yeah, pretty much you guys had said everything. I love doing that. We write dozens and dozens and dozens of articles a year, and I think we're all looking at trying to help people find the right cars. And it's a lot of fun to do a tour of an auto show, especially when you're talking to people who are shopping, and actually feel like one-on-one you get to do that. And just like Paul, the stuff that I hear really does help me. I'll ask for the opinions of the people on my tour, on my tour group, on my tours. And it's really helpful to know what's important to them, because that doesn't get incorporated in how we evaluate our cars. New York is a particularly great show to tour because of where it comes in the cycle of automakers introducing new vehicles. Traditionally, New York was the last of the major auto shows. Not as many new cars are introduced at auto shows as they were, at least to the journalists. That's often where they're presented to the public. And New York is just perfectly positioned on the calendar to really see everything that's coming in this new year. And that's one of the reasons that I like touring, particularly at New York, as opposed to the other shows. I turned into Ed Sullivan there. Get a really great shoe for you. Also, when people ask why I live in Los Angeles and I give tours in New York, I say it's none of your business. But also because at New York, because I'm a native New Yorker from the suburbs, I can talk at my normal speed. I feel like if I do tours in Los Angeles, I would have to talk like this, dude. So love it, New York. 90 words a minute with gusts to 140.
God bless you, Aaron. Scotty, you're muted. Say it again.
Sorry, I didn't want the airport noise to impede. We're all native New Yorkers here, all of us.
Oh
So
my
even
God.
though I live in Texas, I live in Texas
I didn't
now, but
realize that.
we are all native New Yorkers,
Yeah,
even if some of us lived in the suburbs. But yeah,
Yep.
we're all natives here, and it's
we all get it.
I think it's such a cool thing to come to some place like New York where not everybody has a car, and a lot of people their major experience is taxis and
Ubers.
Ubers and trains. And to go to the New York Auto Show and see really what is out there, it's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. I want to say, you guys, one of the things that has amazed me over the last couple of years, and tell me what your favorites were, because I'll tell you what my favorites are, is the concept cars that have come back.
Oh,
And remember a few years ago, there weren't any. And now there's some very cool concept
so
cars.
good.
And I think this year we're going to see more too. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm always interested to see where they're going to go, and concept cars seem to range between the whimsical and the this is coming soon.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the segments I love to do in my tour, is how to spot if that concept car is
You're gonna get
actually
made.
going to
Yeah.
come to you can look at it and go, that's going to happen. You can look at it and go, no, that's not going to happen. I'm also really excited about the fact that they have things at the New York show like the EV test track and the Jeep off-road experience. And I love the fact, especially right in the middle of Manhattan, you can actually get in the vehicles and see what they can do. The acceleration from an EV, even in a short indoor space, is ridiculous. And if you've never done the Jeep experience and seen what these things can really do off road, it's nuts what they design these vehicles to do.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because one of the exciting things I think about auto shows compared to what they were 5 and certainly 10 years ago is the increase in the number of manufacturers that
Mhm.
actually have test tracks set up. And that's, for me, an exciting thing to watch as people step into some of these vehicles for the first time. Now, in some cases, you'll have a brand like Jeep, which will give you an experience, a simulated off-road experience, which can be actually quite a challenge if you've never done it before. And we're also seeing a lot of these test tracks focus on electric, typically all electric models. I'm hoping Jeep will have, for example, the new Wagoneer, the Wagoneer S, which is their first all electric model, with another one coming later this year. Aaron, you're absolutely spot on. One of the interesting things, if you folks are familiar with the name JD Power, which of course has become something of the arbiter of automotive quality, well, they do a lot of other studies too. And one of the things that they found out was that people who have a little experience with EVs, who might have been really blasé or even anti-EV before, become very excited about it once they get inside. Uh, the percentage of folks who actually get to drive an EV, in some cases just at an auto show, who suddenly go from, I'd never want one to, I might want to buy one, is significant. So, whatever you're looking for, there's a lot of different chances to drive vehicles at this show. And it's a good reason to come back, especially if you're not sure about EVs.
Well, and
And I have to say,
you'll also get experience, sorry, with cars that maybe are not on display at the show, because on the EV track downstairs, they'll typically, I can only speak to what I saw last year, but they had Lucid, they had VinFast, they had some other cars that are not on display at the show, but they did get them for the test track. And so that's a chance. And I think this year you'll also be able to get into the Volkswagen ID Buzz
Yeah.
on the EV test track. So, and they have some exceptions for that. So you're not driving, you are riding. They have pro drivers. It's indoors and it's tight, so they don't let everybody drive on the track. But you can put your kids in the car, so your kids can get a feel for what this car is like too. And that's a really cool thing. You get to really experience the car in a way that you don't necessarily on the show floor. You get to see what it's like to ride around inside the Javits Convention Center, which is pretty cool.
and I think it's just so. I'm a big booster. Besides being a native New Yorker, I'm the son of a car dealer. That's how my stepfather met my mother. He sold her a Plymouth Scamp. And I, even though you'll hear the car shows are not as much of the venue for introducing new models to the journalists, they still are to the public, but they are still so important to the public. I remember my stepfather telling me after the New York Auto Show, there's always a bump in showroom traffic. And it's just to have that opportunity, whether you're shopping or whether you're just thinking about what you're going to do down the line, to keep track of what's going on, to compare the cars one to one. Because I always tell anybody who asks, you really have to do your homework in this day and age, because when you go to the dealership, they're probably the first dealership you walk into is going to make you a really good deal. Effectively, for us New Yorkers, make you an offer you can't refuse, right? And the auto show is just such a magnificent opportunity to try everything out, to check out, compare the back seats, to look at the trunks, to do the things that we do when we're doing comparison tests. Really look at every element of this car without somebody leaning over your shoulder, and just really have your own time. I love the auto shows. I love seeing people come out, whether they're shopping or just want to stay up on what's there. I mean, what second biggest purchase that you make other than a house? Maybe third purchase behind eggs nowadays. But still a great chance to compare.
Well,
Well, I think,
eggs have become the second largest purchase you'll
Second
make.
largest. Number two, JD Power egg studies coming out real soon. So this is very interesting hearing everybody talk about this. It might behoove us, depending on how this does, this video does, for us to do a recap after the show and talk about what we learned and what we saw and something like that. It could be really fun. But to wrap this up, because I didn't want to take too much time, I did want to express that I know these three other people pretty well. And so I think I can tell you a little bit about what I think you'll get on a tour with them and why you should tour with them. Obviously, you should tour with me, but if you didn't want to do that, I won't be hurt, because Scotty is a woman on a mission. It's a woman I've known since I started this nonsense. She is a woman that will always look at everything from a female perspective, but also she is really interested in helping consumers and pushing back to automakers about what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, and really looking after consumers and giving them great advice, and also just from a very neutral space, which those of us who are enthusiasts sometimes have a hard time undoing our enthusiasm, as you can tell by the way I'm talking. Paul Eisenstein is a legend in this business, as he'll be the first to tell you. He's been around forever. He's an authority, and he will tell you amazing things. He will have his brain is a masterpiece. But what Paul Eisenstein won't tell you is behind his frosty exterior, there is a teddy bear. And he really cares about people, and he really wants you to get in the right car, and he really wants to hear what you have to say. So I'm a fan. Aaron Gold, I mean, what else can I say? I mean, look at him. Look at this guy. You're going to have a great time. He has incredible depth and knowledge about this industry as well. He is a barrel of monkeys. He has boundless energy and boundless enthusiasm that I admire. You will have a great time with Aaron. You will never be bored. Trust me. So there are my recommendations.
Can I just put in a word about our missing colleague, Kristen Lee,
please,
who is a magnificent writer, really encyclopedic knowledge of the automotive industry, and also she does a lot on camera and is a magnificent presenter. She's a lot of fun to listen to. She really knows her stuff. I knew of her but didn't know her until I started working with her, and she's a magnificent journalist, and it's a great opportunity to be able to tour the show with her. And she's a local as well.
Yeah, I'm going to add one more thing, if I may.
please.
A lot of folks probably don't know this about part of the job as an automotive journalist is to go on events. It sounds great, but we're running all over the place, getting exhausted a lot. It means dashing from one part of the country to another and spending time in new vehicles. It's both the great and bad part of what we do. One of the great parts isn't always driving the vehicle. It's spending time with the other journalists that are gathered there. And I'm not saying this because they're on the line. I'd tell you this if they weren't recording this. All three of these people, I have spent time in vehicles, in some cases driving several hundred miles in one day, and I have enjoyed my time with each of them, and I look forward to, again, driving with Amelia, Scotty, and Aaron on the events that are coming up in the next few months. So that said, you're going to have a great time spending, 90 minutes or so, wandering through Jacob Javits Center with any of them, and hopefully with me as well.
Thank you, Paul. That's so kind. I'm going to add one last detail to anybody who's on the fence thinking about this. I think the number one reason to sign up for a tour with any of our colleagues, anyone here, is not only do you get this great person to lead you through and give you a true personal perspective on the auto show, but it's kind of behind the scenes. Some of these tours are before the show opens to the public, or they're at a time in the schedule when traffic is light. So not only is it a great experience in terms of, getting the knowledge of somebody who really knows the show, but you get a really special experience. It's worth the price of admission just to be on the show floor without all of the raging public there alongside you. And that, I think, is a good reason to go. Sometimes I think we're just the bonus, but anyway.
Yeah, the morning, Scotty's right. The morning tours are great because we don't quite have the place to ourselves, but it's close. And you get a chance to walk around with people, and Paul made a good point that we've driven most of these cars and know a lot about them. We know the people behind them. And it's a great way to get the backstory.
Yeah.
There you have it. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time. There'll be more details to come, and we look forward to seeing all of you on the showroom floor. The New York Auto Show is April 18th through the 27th, and we will see you there.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Amelia.
Bye. Thanks, guys.